Well, that was an interesting pay-per-view. Let's talk about it. The 0 Hour was an hour long, 0 Hour, and it was just jam-packed. They put so much stuff into it this time. I don't understand why. I mean, I kind of get it. It's the last pay-per-view of the year, but I was not prepared for four matches in an hour, which great, awesome. But it was a lot. It was a lot to pack in there. So I feel like some of it was a little rushed. We had the Sisters of Sins, obviously, Sin, versus the World Girls. I didn't actually catch their names. I know that they went by something and something World. It was a fine match. Nothing too out of the ordinary. They had to throw Sky Blue in there, obviously, because she's from there. You know, you gotta always rep the hometown people, and obviously gave them the win. Cool, no problem. I'm into it. Following that, we had Eddie Kingston versus Zach Gibson. Some kind of weird grudge match. Kingston came out on top, which fine. I'm fine with that. I like Kingston, but I really feel like every time AEW brings in the Grizzled Young Veterans, it's not quite a squash match, but it's not great. I mean, he put up a little bit of a fight. There was some stuff going on with that, but at the end of the day, Kingston pulled it off, as we all knew he would. They're trying to ramp him back up to get him into a good title area, since he lost everything due to injury and was out for 18 months. So I get it. Like, good on him. I'm glad that he's got something going on, and we can kind of move on from there. I mean, it only was like an 8-minute match, I think, from when I glanced up at my clock above my TV. But, he did fine. He did fine. You can watch all this on YouTube, by the way. The 0 Hour is always free. So, moving on from that. The one thing that did surprise me was after the match, the Grizzled Young Vets started beating up Kingston, as, you do when you're the heel and you lost to a really good babyface. And then Ortiz popped up. And we haven't seen him in a while. I thought he had gone back to TNA, but maybe his contract is over now, or maybe he also was out with injury and this was his return. I'm not 100% sure, but it's fine. Either way, it's fine. I'm glad that Kingston and him can maybe reconnect and go have a thing together. Maybe go after the tag titles. That would be pretty fucking dope. I digress for now. We'll see what happens with Ortiz as things move along. Then we had Rocky Romero and Mark Davis versus Bandito and Mascara Dorada. Good match. A lot of high flying, but also a lot of beefy man beat up times. Then Mark Davis is a large man, and he is very keen on just slapping the piss out of people, which is fine. That's what he does. I don't know what exactly they're doing with him at the moment, since they broke up the tag team, and he's just kind of a C-tier player in the family. So I don't understand what's happening that direction, but I guess maybe we'll see as time goes on. Maybe him and Rocky and Trent all go after like the trios titles together. That might work, because then you've got 3 different sized people with 3 different fighting styles. It might work. It might work. I'm not against it. Then to round out 0 Hour, we had Jurassic Express and Jet Speed versus Josh Alexander and The Demand. I like Ricochet. I think the character work he's been doing with all this weirdness turning into some form of like, he was like a pseudo serial killer for a second with that pair of scissors, and now he's got the Gates of Agony behind him, and they're just kind of running roughshod, sort of. Their storyline seems to do better behind the camera or backstage more so than it does in the ring. Ricochet is really kind of getting to blossom and show what he's been capable of this whole time, while still having the ability to do all the high-flying stuff and get all the shenanigans out of the way. Gates of Agony, obviously, big beefy boys, still, very quick on their feet, so they can handle that. But then they just kind of tossed Josh Alexander in there, and I don't understand what all these guys are doing as far as like being part of the Don Callis family, but then getting like rented out to other groups, other people for like essentially being hitmen, and then it failing, because it really has been failing for a hot minute. I don't know if Don Callis is going to start like cutting guys, but he really seems to be trying to build his own version of the NWO. And for the most part, it's working. He's got some really good guys in there. But then you just have these other people they come in and they join, and then nothing. It's like Daniel Garcia joining the Death Riders. Like, why? Like, just why? I don't know. But Jurassic Express and Jet Speed did get the win on that. I'm excited. Jurassic Express is back together. I'm cool with Jet Speed. Both those tag teams seem to have their stuff handled. The opening of the match, the Demand came out and started beating everybody up, and then they took Luchasaurus to the back, and he was gone for quite some time. And then when he came back, that was basically just the end of it. I made a little note that said that they took him backstage. He came back 5 minutes before 0 Hour was going to end, and then by 4 minutes until 0 Hour was ending, the match was over. So, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It did it. They did their job getting 0 Hour done and over with, and then went from there. And there's nothing, I got nothing against that. That's fine. It's all good, and it's all good in my book. So hopefully we can get some more tag team stuff out of Jurassic Express, and they can go after the titles and hopefully win the titles. I think that would be a fun little thing, since Jack's career has just been kind of up and down, and he's had some weird stuff going on, and he's still a fan favorite, but then he had like a goat head on him, and it just, whatever he's doing now is fine. Let's just stick here for a little while and hope everything works out for the best with all that. Then we got into World's End proper. We opened up with Takeshita and Okada finishing up their league bracket with their semifinals, and it was just good. I would say good, clean fun. Wasn't clean. It was kind of all over the place. There was lots of hard hits. There was some jumping around. There was some, random suplexes and reversals and really good, some mat wrestling and stuff like that. And then Okada found a hidden screwdriver in one of not the turnbuckle itself, but the turnbuckle, the spot right behind it that tightens to the actual ring post. And he used that, hit Takeshita in the head, got the 1, 2, 3 off that, and then fucked off with the screwdriver, which that'll be important later. So it was a good match. So Okada finished that semifinal. He was going to the finals. Then we followed that up with Fletcher versus Mox, which was ridiculous. Fletcher was really going at it. He was doing everything he could. Mox just is such a beast when it comes to straight striker style type stuff. And here's where the screwdriver comes back into effect. Supposedly Fletcher put it there before everything began, and so he started looking for it, and he got all confused, and he was like, I don't know where my screwdriver is, like I really want to go to the finals. And then he turned around and got his shit rocked by Mox and ended up losing the match, and so Mox went on to the finals. So it was Mox and Okada doing the finals. Later in the pay-per-view, they both got to rest, although Mox was pretty messed up. His knee was all tweaked and torqued and pulled out of place, because Fletcher's really good at pinpointing things and just going after one body part to try and get his whole storyline over as far as being like kind of cerebral, but like not intense. Like it took a while for him to pick a body part, and then once he did, he was like stuck on it, like a dog to a jar of peanut butter. So there was that. There was this really crazy avalanche half and half suplex that Mox did that landed Fletcher literally right on his head, and I winced so hard. And then they showed a replay of it 3 times, and I winced every time. It was a terrible landing, but he got like right back up and just kept on keeping on, and then lost like 37 seconds later. So, that's just how it goes sometimes, I guess. Then we went for the tag team titles, FTR versus the Bang Bang Gang. It was a Chicago street fight. Great match. Not as much blood as I expected there to be, but great match nonetheless. FTR came out on top. There was a lot of back and forth. At one point, it was both FTR in the ring, and they were just pounding the absolute dog shit out of the Bang Bang Gang, and they were really getting at it. So everything worked out in FTR's favor in the end. Stokely was being a little bitch and running in and making weirdness, and he actually hit the ref at one point, and because it was a Chicago street fight, there's no disqualifications. It was all legal or whatever. So there's that. But my God, it was intense. And I don't know how Austin Gunn isn't broken, because he went through, so he got missile attacked from Dax through the ropes and through a table that was on the outside of the ring, and that was insane. At one point, Stokely got up on the apron, and he was trying to stop Juice Robinson from using a chair to just demolish FTR and try and take the win, and he ended up getting pushed by Juice. Juice had the chair, Stokely had the chair, and Juice just went bleh, and shot Stokely off the ring apron, and he missed a table that Stokely had set up. He like his hip hit the very far edge of the table, and he collapsed into the ground and rolled into the announcer's desk, and then the table like fell over and rolled on top of him, and that was very funny. But also, like, that man's not a wrestler. I don't know how often he's supposed to be taking bumps. I don't know how trained he is on taking bumps, but that was a hell of a bump for that man to take. So that's just what happened with Stokely. After that, they did a little spot for the Sports Illustrated Awards and how AEW had 10 awards for, like, Monet is female wrestler of the year, and Hangman Page is male wrestler of the year, and FTR the tag team of the year. And so Sports Illustrated did a whole bunch of stuff. You can look it up. I'm sure that they paid somebody something to hand these awards out. I don't know how any of that actually works behind the scenes, but Monet just continues to rack up stuff, and I don't understand why. But I digress. I'll move on. Which then brings us to Athena and Monet taking on Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale, the Babes of Wrath, for the women's tag titles. And it was fine. It was a decent match. There wasn't anything really out of place. There were like 2 or 3 little botches, but it flowed really well overall. Athena did a dive onto fucking Willow at one point and just absolutely rocked her like a freight train flying through the air. I know that doesn't make sense. Go with this. But she did a dive, and Willow was like all the way at the ends of the mats, like right near where the entrance ramp ends, and she made it the whole distance and still managed to like land on her knees and then kind of roll through and stand up and just be like, whoa. And I like Athena. I think her character work is silly and fun, and it's goofy wrestling, but also like she takes all of her stuff very seriously, which is awesome. I'm into it. And she just cleared 1,100 days as the ROH Women's Champion. So go Athena. Like I'm all in on it. Then we got to honestly kind of my favorite match of the night. It was Gabe Kidd versus Darby Allin. And oh boy, was it a bloody mess, I guess is the best way to put it. Both by the end of it, both men were bleeding from the head. They were both wearing crimson masks. And Darby was taking risks going from like the top rope to the floor to do coffin drops. And Gabe Kidd, like at one point, picked up Darby and like bum rushed the announcers area, the timekeepers area. I mean, and they both just flew in, just demolished themselves. Near the beginning of the match, Gabe put Allen up on the top rope and then just shoved him, and he tumbled all the way down to the floor, which was absolutely. He hit his head. Darby Allin hit his head pretty decently on the ring apron on his way down. So there's that. But then like Gabe took him and vaulted him up into the ring steps, and they've got like a new like plate that goes on top, so it doesn't have to sit on the ring corner. You put a top on it, and then it goes right up against the ring itself, and so they use that as like a little weapon type of deal. They hit a cameraman at one point, which was kind of funny. But yeah, there was so much blood. There was so much blood. There was blood on the ring ropes for the rest of the pay-per-view. Those men need transfusions at this point, I think. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They both lost a lot of blood. And then we moved on to what do they call it? The Mixed Nuts Mania match. Something like that. I didn't write it down. I should have. But it was Garcia, Yuta, Claudio, and Shafir versus Briscoe, Cassidy, Strong, and Storm. And it was basically a tornado, anything goes tag match. And there was men versus men and men versus men and men versus men and women versus women and then men versus women. And then Marina Shafir and Roderick Strong got into it a couple of times, which was very funny because they're married and they're like in opposite sides of the stables. And so like fucking Roderick Strong gave Marina Shafir a back chop at one point, just one. He got one in, and it echoed through that arena so loud. And she's got to have a handprint, and I'm wondering if she's going to take that out on him later. But she also kicked him full on in the face, like really got her foot right up into his face, and that was fantastic, and I loved it. And it was so funny to see this married couple like physically fighting on live television during this pay-per-view. Obviously, the good guys won. And at one point, Tony Storm and fucking Orange Cassidy were doing like a tango in the middle of the ring, and they would like roll the other one off, and they would like attack a guy and then roll back in, and then they'd go the other way and they'd roll off and they'd attack another person. And then like Orange Cassidy got dipped so he could kick someone in the face, and then he just stayed dipped for like 37 seconds, and Tony Storm was just like, this is how we do it. So that was so goofy. I love goofy wrestling so much. That whole match made me very happy because it was just so silly. It was just so silly. But you know, I'm pretty sure Briscoe hit Yuta with the J Driller, and then that was that. Yuta takes a lot of L's for that, for the Death Riders, and at this point, you got to figure that everything is coming to a little bit of a head with that, especially now that Daniel Garcia is the newest guy, but he has only taken a couple L's, and Yuta's just eating them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't know. Backstage, Mercedes Moné had a breakdown, and she challenged Willow to a match for the TBS Championship. and ended the whole thing with, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. And then she was like, okay, bye. And then she like closed her locker room door and started screaming. And it was, I mean, it's what her character is at this point. She's got 10 belts, I think now. I think she's lost a couple in the last month or so, but it's one of those things where I'm kind of glad she's losing a lot of her belts because I'm not a huge fan of like her character. She plays her character very well though, and I have to give her props for that. I respect what she does with the character. I'm just kind of over it. Like, cool, you started a women's revolution and now there's like so many more people that can, or women that can come in and like do things and make it look really good, like the blood and guts matches and whatever. But she herself just bothers me, and I don't know why. Great acting, apparently. Following that was Statlander versus Hayter for the women's title. It was very back and forth. They borrowed each other's finishers at one point and did it, you know, and that was a fun little moment. But it came down to Hayter not being able to get the job done, which I'm totally fine with. I don't really have a dog in that race. Both ladies are perfectly fine athletes and individuals, and they can get it done. But I'm not a super fan of either one. It's cool that Stat has the title because she's an OG in the company, so she can like carry it for a while and show that, you know, even the people that were there like day one can still get it done and make sure that everything's handled. So, you know, let her keep the title for a while longer. It's fine. It's honestly fine. Then we had Okada and Mox doing backstage promos because their match was up next. Okada was basically just like, I'm the best tournament wrestler of all time, bitch. And then Mox was like, well, if you want to win this, like, you're going to have to fucking kill me. And then they got into it, and it was just trading punches and trading kicks and trading, like, power bombs and like, attempted finishers and reversals of finishers into finishers and roll-ups. And Okada was really paying attention to Mox's leg or knee from the damage that had happened earlier when they did their semifinal rounds at the beginning of the show. And it really it was just two big dudes knocking each other around. And now we have a new Continental Champion because Mox ended up pulling it off. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch exactly how he did it because it was kind of a blink and you'll miss it type of deal. But Mox hit Okada with a Rainmaker at one point, and it was just like, okay, we're just everybody's borrowing everybody else's finisher moves tonight. Cool, no problem. Let's do that. But then Mox did this like really impassioned promo, like right there in the ring. And it was like very babyface of him. And it was kind of weird to me. But he went from like one of the most hated heels a couple months ago when he still had the title to being like one of the biggest like current baby faces after a string of losses to like Kyle O'Reilly and stuff. And Claudio did not look impressed at all the entire time he was cutting this promo. And so I really think that now that Mox is the Continental Champion, something's going to happen with the Death Riders. I don't know what. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure Mox is about to get the Bryan Danielson treatment in some regard. So Mox is probably, I'd say give it 90 days. Give it 90 days, I feel like something is going to happen. And the Death Riders will go on to do their own thing, and they'll probably start getting like real traction behind them. And Mox will just have to figure out his own thing, I think. And he'll become like a weird, like, anti-hero babyface. But hey, if that's what happens, that's what happens. I'm here for it. I'm here for the weird, goofy drama. So once we did that, it came down to the main event. It was Swerve versus Joe versus Paige versus MJF. And I don't want to say that the main event felt rushed because it wasn't. It was like a 45 minute long. it felt like a 45-minute long thing. I think actually it came in just under half an hour, but it was kind of a spot fest for a minute. Everything, it was just one guy hitting a thing on another guy who then turned and hit a thing on another guy who then turned and got hit by a thing from another guy, and it was just back and forth and back and forth. MJF got rocked out of the ring a dozen times, probably. So, like, he was not expending a lot of energy fighting, but he was expending a lot of energy recuperating from getting hit, which... That's in a fatal four-way like that, knowing MJF's character, that just, it matches. It fits. It was so perfectly crafted for what he does. Joe was tanking it as best he could. There was a time where Hangman and Swerve were very focused on Joe, and they'd kick him out of the ring, and then they'd turn around and they'd kick MJF, and he would fly away and disappear again. And then it would just kind of rinse and repeat. And then Hangman and Swerve would go after each other for 2, 3, 4 minutes. And then it would all kind of come back. And Joe was doing really good at, like, when he could slip in an opportunity to do damage, he would. And it worked out great. And MJF is our champion again. And new. And I called it. Go check my Twitter. I'll put the link down below. I'm not calling it X. Nobody calls it. It's Twitter now and forever. Go check. Go check. I absolutely called that was going to be a thing. I think I tweeted it like 2 or 3 times as the match, like right as everybody was making their entrance, and then like all the way through up until the end. And then, yeah, I'm actually happy that MJF is the champ again because he deserves it. He's a great worker. A lot of people just think that he's lazy or whatever, but that's his character. And his character is so perfectly crafted. And the dude's not even 30 yet. And now he's 2-time AEW champ. So I'm all in on that. Haha. And now we're just going to have to see how everything plays from here on out. Now that he's the champ, and Joe is probably going to go on a tirade, and Swerve and Hangman are probably going to be some form of like odd buddy cop movie. But I think in the end it's all going to work out. And I hope MJF is the first one to get 1,000 days as champion. Like not consecutively, but just congruently, because he's at 409 right now. So he only needs another 491 days, right? He can make it another year and a half being champ and just defending it willy-nilly, random or whatever when he's told he needs to fulfill his contract. Like, that's fine. Zero issue with that. So that was 2025 AEW at World End. Very pleased. Super excited. Just a heads up, this is probably going to be a very AEW heavy podcast, but I'm going to do my best to try and get some WWE out of it. If I can find a few more bucks a month, I might even branch out, hopefully if I can figure out a way to do it, to watch like New Japan. ROH would be awesome. TNA would be fine, but now they've got that weird contract with WWE, and I've been paying attention to online stuff, but I haven't actually watched any of it. So I don't know. I know Joe Henry is probably coming to WWE, which is fucking hilarious, but TNA still has the issue of being like the retirement home for WWE people. So like they've got the Hardys and they've got the Dudleys, even though the Dudleys are absolutely like 100% done now. But they've got the Nemeths, and so I don't know what's going to happen there. Just stay tuned. All my socials will be in the little bar at the bottom of the description area. Yeah. So hopefully everything kind of works out for the best, and we can keep moving forward and have a lot of fun watching goofy wrestling. So this has been Swithbert's Suplex Society. I am Swithbert, your masked maniac. I'm going to work on that tagline. Have a great night. Bye-bye.